Okay, 3, 2, and 1. Hello, DFA family. This is your girl, Chaka Pow, and we are on our second installment of 21 to Watch in 2021. Again, I am Chaka Pow. Thank you all for joining us. 21 to Watch in 2021 is we are highlighting candidates, activists, and members around the country who have been instrumental in our progressive movement. So I am so excited, so excited to have our guest here today. I'm not going to introduce her. I'm going to let her introduce herself and tell us who she is and introduce herself to the DFA family. So I'll pass the mic to you.
Well, thank you, Chaka. And it's such an incredible privilege to be here with you. I am so excited because I, Maya Wiley, candidate for New York City mayor, am running to be the 110th mayor of New York City, a city that for the first 109 mayors has never seen a woman win. And this matters also because as a Black woman, an unapologetically Black woman, I am recognizing that we are also a city that only once has elected someone Black to lead this city. And that is something that is time for a change because we lead. And it is time that we are recognized as not only the cavalry in a crisis, not only the defenders of democracy, but the qualified. When we say we are queens, we are qualified to lead, and we will do so.
Woo! Let me tell you guys, I am fangirling right now. She is amazing. She is just going to take New York City into a whole nother level. I'm just going to speak it already. We are just really excited to have her in this race. And speaking of being in this race, can you tell us who and or what inspired you to run for office?
Whew, that is such a heavy question because there were so many things. But let's start with the most obvious. Donald Trump was president. And between his hate, his efforts to denigrate our communities because we needed more jobs, because we deserved dignity when it came to public safety, because we called out police violence and misconduct, because we said we would protect our residents whether they had papers or not, that because of these things, he wanted to punish New York City. He wanted to cut funds from New York City. And it is a time where we all had to not just resist, because resist we must, but we also needed to recognize how critically important it was for our city government to be leaders for solving our problems locally, recognizing we couldn't rely on the federal government. That meant we have to lead.
That is so important. That is so important. And I think people now they understand how important local elections are, especially to their livelihoods. Tell us a little bit about the climate right now in New York City and as far as local elections.
Yeah, well, thank you. This is an historic election because I am, as a Black woman, a top tier candidate in this race. That in and of itself is history making. And I didn't get here by myself because we always partner. We always work for our communities, with our communities. And the state of this race right now is that we need to keep building Black Women for Maya. We are 800 strong in this city, but we also have support nationally. We want to build that. We're proud that we are a coalition campaign because we recognize that when we work for our communities, we're working for every person in our communities, but every person in our city. It's what we've always done. And so we're proud that we have 7,000 donors. That's more than any other campaign posted in January in our filing that 75% of our donors are small dollar donors. That's people power, and that's what's powering this campaign. And it is a coalition of all of us. And so right now, we are just in a sprint to the June 22nd primary. And it is a sprint where we are continuing to ask for support in the form of dollars. Yes, donations. Maya Wiley for mayor.com. Please step up and step proud. And we're also asking for folks to keep lifting us up in profile, because as we know, one of the struggles we have when we run is that sometimes people like to forget that we are leaders. So we also look for the love from our community to lift us up.
That is such an important point that you just made. I'm going to reiterate, June 22nd is the primary date. June 22nd. I need you all to mark that in your calendars, write that down, put in a mental note, whatever you need to do. Just make sure you know that June 22nd is the primary, New York City primary. And let's all remember Maya Wiley. Let's all remember that. I just want to keep on reiterating that for you all. Speaking of, just the climate right now, we're still in the pandemic. We're still here. We're still a year into this, and now you're campaigning. What are you doing differently during this pandemic as you're campaigning? I know it's just been different. It's just been a different way. You can't touch people. You can't, be, around people that much. You can't be in big spaces as they have in the past to campaign. So what are you doing differently to connect with people?
I'm running for mayor to keep people first. And that means protect and serve. So even as a campaign, everything we are doing starts with public health and protecting the health of all our residents. So we are doing a lot of virtual events. We have people's assemblies because we want to engage New Yorkers in identifying the problems and the priorities that we all need to be paying attention to, given this deep crisis, this historic crisis, the trauma of our communities, the joblessness, the evictions people are facing. And we're creating that voice safely through people's assemblies. And we tell people you don't have to support or endorse Maya Wiley to participate, because it is central to our democracy that we have these conversations with one another about what our problems are and how we solve them together. And we're also going out publicly. And yes, we're doing events out publicly. We're in petition season right now, but we are doing it safely. We are doing it double masked. We're doing it with materials. We're working on the social distancing. We actually joined a lawsuit to try to prevent petitioning and find a different way in this crisis to decide who qualifies for the ballot, not because we had any concerns about petitioning, but because we had lots of concerns about public health and making sure that there was nothing we were doing to endanger that, especially given how much death and infection rates and how hard it has been for our communities to get vaccines. So that has been really important to us. But we are petitioning safely. And, we are finding every opportunity we can to be in community, but in community. And when we are indoors, paying attention to the state's rules of around how we do that at capacity and not above capacity. And if ever we see a situation where there are too many people inside, we don't go in. And we actually encourage other people to come out because we don't want to endanger anyone's life.
Absolutely. And that is so important. And I know we will get through this, but we have to get through this in a safe manner, and everybody's following the rules and regulations and making sure that everybody is social distancing, wearing their masks. So thank you so much for keeping that in the forefront of your minds. Again, that's very important. I want to shift gears, and you've been in this space for a while, doing great work in this space, and really, connected with communities and serving your community for a long time now. And thank you for that. But I want to know, people want to be doctors and lawyers when they're younger, and want to be firefighters. But what what made you step into this at such a young age? What made you step into this area?
Well, you know, Shaka, I have been Black all my life since the day I was born. I went to the neighborhood elementary school that was Black, segregated, overcrowded, and underfunded.
Hmm.
I watched my best friend Charlene in my class one day, running the streets with me one day, because that's what we did. We ran the streets. And the next day was gone, gone without a trace and without any opportunity for me to say goodbye. And come to find out, the landlord had raised the rent. And her mother, who was a single mother who worked long hours, could not afford the rent.
Mm.
And I knew how hard her mama worked. And that for me was the beginning and the first understanding of just how much our communities get displaced, how little attention is paid to what resources we deserve and that we should be able to expect. And dignity in my household was not just a word, it was a moral code. And that code was, to those of us who have been given much, much is expected. And that means we have to work in whatever we do, we have to work for the dignity of our communities, of our people. And my parents were activists, they were civil rights activists. So it was also my father's day job, quite frankly, doing just that and watching the sacrifices that my parents made for their moral code, for their sense of the importance of giving back and of fighting for dignity. And dignity means development without displacement. It means our education system seeing every single one of our children as exceptional. And it means knowing that we can be safe in our own streets from crime and from police violence. And that all these things go into what my community did not have and deserved. And that's why I became a civil rights lawyer, a racial justice advocate, an activist. And that's why I've spent every waking day of my career grateful that I have had the privilege of giving back.
Wow, that we see that all too often, all too often. That is just one of those things, that whew, that's what makes you want to help everyone. If you have a heart for it, it makes you just want to help everyone that are in those circumstances. So thank you again for your work and your tireless work that you've been doing. We really appreciate it. Um, we have endorsed you, and we are so excited to be, a part of your campaign. What has this endorsement meant for you and your team?
This endorsement, Democracy for America, for us, was a recognition of who our home base is. Because Democracy for America represents why I am running, who I am running for, and how I am running. It is the principle that is the people and the people's voice first and foremost. It is the principle that our governance must be about all of us. And it is about the social justice. It is about the fight for equality, equity, and inclusion. It is about the fact that we will organize and that we will lift up voices loud and proud and also hold leaders accountable. And for me, this has been one of the greatest gifts, because it is a recognition of who we are as a campaign, who I am as a candidate, and who I want to walk beside in this journey.
That is why you align exactly with our values, and your campaign has just been very strong, and we are honored to be a part of your campaign. Let's I have one more question for you, and then
Okay.
I'll switch it up a little bit. One more, but we want to let our members know what do they need to know about your campaign? Give us those facts that we need to know and have in the front of our mind about this campaign.
Well, the first fact every single Democracy for America member should know is we will win. We will make history because we will do it together. That is the way we get it done, together. And I, as a humble servant, and that is the way I think about this, as a humble servant, am just humbled to know that I have Democracy for America's support and endorsement, and that what we need now is to walk this path together. That's everything from fundraising and donations, everything that every member can do to help us get the word out about this campaign and broaden this coalition. This is going to help us do exactly what we need to do, and recognizing and lifting up what leadership looks like, which I know Democracy for America does every single day and in every single way, because there are people who question our ability to lead no matter what our resume looks like. And so it is not a problem. It is just something we have to acknowledge and profile build around.
Absolutely.
And that is exactly why DFA is so important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want you all again, MayaWileyForMayor.com. June 22nd is the primary day. I need you all to, support, do what you need to do as far as, getting out there, if she needs some volunteers, volunteer, give financially if you can, give your time if you can, get on your phone and call your friends if you can. Do what you need to do to support Maya Wiley. Again, she is one of our DFA endorsed candidates, and we are so happy and so excited to have her and see her win. You all. We want to see her win. Okay. One last question. It's going to be a fun one. So just off the beaten path. Okay. So if me, Chaka Power, if I'm coming to New York City and I am looking for some food, I know pizza's the thing for New York. I know it's the pizza, but what is the one thing that I need to eat before I leave? Before I leave, you're like, Chaka, you cannot leave until you have what?
Oh, that is such a long list. But I will say, New Yorkers believe in their bagels. Believe deeply in their bagels. And I will tell you, you go to another city, there's very few times that a New Yorker will say it's a good New York City bagel. So you do have to come. There is a debate about the best bagels, always, and whether or not you toast it or don't toast it. I will tell you, if it's fresh, don't toast that bagel. Don't toast it.
Don't toast
But
that.
don't toast that fresh bagel.
The fresh bagel.
That's the whole point of the fresh bagel. Also, don't buy a bagel that's not fresh. That's the other tip. But New Yorkers are very serious about their bagels. But there is a long line. You were right about pizza. We could be talking about fried chicken too. But,
Really?
oh, yeah. And fried fish. Don't get me started on fried whiting. But again, the boroughs fight, the restaurants, everybody fights about which one is the best.
You're
so
right.
I think the real point is, Chaka, you got to come and we got to go taste all the flavors together.
And guess what? I'm not opposed to that one bit. Because this girl likes to eat. So
I won't tell you how much weight I gained pregnant with my first child when I had to have my fried whiting, my mac and cheese, and my greens every single night for dinner.
Ooh. See, you're already okay. Let me get
finger licking, the finger licking.
finger licking good. Fried whiting, collard greens, and mac and cheese. That's right up my alley. That's right up my alley. Maya, thank you so much again for your time. Thank you for taking the time out for our members. We appreciate you. Again, June 22nd is the primary day. MayaWileyForMayor.com for more information about her campaign. And again, we're excited for you. If you need anything from us, you know where we are.
Thank you so much, Chaka. Thank you so much, Democracy for America. And let's do this.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let me stop recording.
Okay.